Hello, foodies. Welcome back to Foot in Review, powered by footcoaching.com. My name is John, and today we are bringing you episode 416. Today is all about FIFA 23 being the last FIFA ever, and some quality changes to the podcast, and how is Team of the Season going for us. Stay tuned to find that out. But let's start by introducing my co-host, starting with the man from Egypt, also nicknamed Mo Salah. It's none other than Amr. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back on. Was a late notice, but you're so flexible, mate.
There's a job description.
We'll talk about that later. Hey, and joining me is a man who is formerly known as the Foot in Review Teddy Bear. He is wearing a beautiful red cap if you look on the left side of your screen. And he has a teddy bear or a tiger, Foot in Review tiger in his hand, which we'll talk about later. But we have changed his nickname because he was so kind of having me and Aaron over in Scotland at his place 2 weeks ago. And that he fed us and he gave us so much beer that he wanted to play FIFA on a console we don't play at. But he did honestly win our private tournament there. And he was so keen to actually live stream it as well. So we have proof that he won. So it's my pleasure to reintroduce you all to formerly known as Foot in Review Teddy Bear, but now known as the Coach Slayer. It's Chris. Hey, Chris.
Thank you, mate. I'll go with the mini Coach Slayer because Nick, who is a wonderful player, I think he goes by the name of Coach Slayer as well next time he comes on the pod.
I've never lost a match from Nick though.
But he's a lot taller than me, so I'll take the mini one. But it was great to have you guys, and it was good as well on Sunday. We met with other guys as well, so maybe next year we'll do one down south in England. Would be great.
Yeah, for sure. You are already making plans.
Yes,
after my trip, I am trying to get into Scotland, or actually the island in its own, without flying, because I'm never flying in again after this one. But I did have a great time, so thank you once again for the hospitality.
No, it was great.
And you gave me the proper full Scottish experience.
Yeah,
including fighting for a cap. So yeah.
Yeah, and even square sausage as well.
Yeah, no haggis for me though, but everything else went fine. Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. Guys, there's so much to discuss, so let's start discussing. And the first thing we have to discuss is, of course, FIFA 23 being the last of the FIFA series. No more FIFAs after FIFA 23. And FIFA 23 is going to be the biggest, baddest, amazing FIFA ever. But hey, that's also marketing in May, June, so we're not going to go into too much detail there because there aren't any details yet. But EA Sports FC Football Club is going to be the new name of the new series starting in 23-24, of course. Where do we start? Chris, we knew this was coming. I think I said about half a year ago that I expect at least 1 year of contract, right? That I do expect FIFA, even no matter how this worked out, it was either strategy, but whatever happened, we would get at least one more, because that's how it usually goes. That's been the case. That's been confirmed now. What do you think of EA Sports FC? I don't think I'm going to call the podcast that, honestly, but besides that, what do you think?
EA Sports FC, I suppose the thing is from a player point of view, the two things I picked up that they spoke about was content creation, and also the fact is signing up players. So I think if they go with FIFA Pro, am I right in saying that they get to keep the players' names because that's where the players are with? I think that would be a big change if there's players missing from the game, because at the moment we're spoiled because I don't think there's any players missing. There is some strips missing and some change of names, but the players themselves are still those players, and I think that could be the biggest issue for us.
No, it's not going to happen. They already confirmed that they are keeping the licensee portfolio, and they will have at least 90,000 real life players, 700 plus teams, 100 stadiums, and over 30 leagues available already. So I don't expect much change on the lead. But they also said we have exclusive partnerships already in place with Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, MLS, and more to be confirmed. So I don't think that matters anything. Honestly, let's go into more details soon. But that's not going to be an issue, I guess. It only
Yeah.
changes of a symbol. That's far.
I don't see it being a great change then. Hopefully the game might change and we're not having FIFA. You may see some more game modes, more fun modes, and could we see female players and male players being mixed up, which would be great. That would be a good thing as well, and would bring the women's game on as well for a lot of us.
Amar, any top thoughts of the name change from yours?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm excited about that change. Forget about the name. For every single one of us, we're always gonna say we're playing FIFA, regardless of what they call it. But I think the positive side is, as Chris said, we might see some weird game modes, new things added to the game, no restrictions. They said that they were hampered always by restrictions from FIFA. So right now, the shackles are gone. They should be able to provide a level of quality that, as they said, they couldn't provide before. The other thing I'm excited about is that right now FIFA will be looking for someone that can do a video game for them, and that will open a certain level of exciting for whoever is going to be actually doing that. Because right now we should be getting two good games, FIFA and the new, oh sorry, FC Sport, EAFC Sport, and the new generation FIFA.
I think you hit on multiple interesting aspects. Let's talk about the competitor side first, right? I don't think the name makes the game.
Yep.
If you say it fast, it actually rhymes. But I think if you talk about competitors, there's only one currently. That's, of course, eFootball. They just rebranded everything to eFootball. There is no benefit from there except license. But we forgot that one of the main reasons why this was actually a thing is because of the insane amount of money they had to pay for license. $250 million a year, right?
Yep.
There's no way a game that's going free to play like eFootball is going to spend 250 million. I don't even know if they could, but there's no way they'll spend that money for a name and licenses. If I were them, you can then expand your team like with times 20 on the current team, something like that. So I'd always go for that, right? So I don't see that as an option. The other competitors are also all going to be free to play. They have a very small team. I've said this before. Like, I won't name shame them here or anything like that. I've got certain opinions about them, but there are teams with 15 people in the studio with 4 or 5 developers. There's no way they could go in this route, anyways. So I think the name FIFA for video games is just going to be gone for a while. You might see FIFA Manager or anything like that, but I don't think it's going to be that way.
You're missing a certain company, John, that I think will be hidden toes in this race.
Surprise me.
That's 2K. 2K Sports.
That's the same 2K Sports that had certain licenses and missed the ball on certain games as well the last 2 years, right? Also,
that's correct. Yeah, but I think as I've heard, they were looking a way to get in through the scene and create a football game. Now they already have a big bucket. If they manage to arrange something with FIFA, then
they should probably be better off just buying Konami then and just going that way.
Well, they already have a history of sports games, so
Yeah,
at least they will have a better opportunity to provide us with half decent game.
Well, that's totally fair. I'll happily be surprised if that happens because those guys do have big teams. Those guys do have big publishers behind them and funding. And I would be much more happy to see that happen. So let's hope for that. I think that's one of the options. The other options is the shackles are off, you said, or Chris said. I think Chris said.
I did.
Sorry, you said, of course. Yeah. So the shackles are off, and I think this is going to be interesting. There are many boundaries the game had to deal with, right? You can't have a player not look like himself, be portrayed as another kid. I don't even know that's possible. But one of the most important thing is, if you talk about FIFA esports, right? It gets hampered by not having an option to work with all kinds of sponsors that are available.
Yep.
And the first thing we saw announced about 15 minutes after they announced EA Sports FC, is an exclusive partnership between EA Sports FC and Nike.
Yes.
There's going to be more money available to make the game. There's going to be more money available to promote the game. And my bet is that esports, with more sponsors coming in, with more money being available and less being shackled to what the FIFA scene would like to see as a representative tournament,
Yes.
right? And I know for a fact there are some tournaments that can't go a certain way because FIFA don't want that. I think this is going to be could be a breakout year for the FIFA esports scene. So not FIFA
Yes.
23, the new one, EA Sports FC, might be rock solid if you're an esporter or involved in the scene like we are. I hope at least as well, but I think there lies a uncovered potential.
Absolutely, I agree.
Generally
then
speaking, I really like it.
But from a gamer's point of view, I get that, John, and that's a good thing. But I mean, the game itself can't change. Football's football. The pitch is generally the same size, give or take. A few yards either way. The ball's round. The goals are the same size. I mean,
That's
I'm
true,
not-
but if you have
I'm-
250 million more to spend, or you don't
Yeah.
have to spend 250 million on licensing, can you just expand your team, go dive into new engines, go develop other things as well?
I think I think from this point of view, they're big enough now that they can do away with the FIFA side of it. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is. I think they're big enough now, EA, that they've said, you know what, we don't need this. We've got a fan base, we've got a player base. Why should we pay? Is it $1 billion or something? Was the contract was worth?
Yeah,
Why should we
250 million a year for 4
Yeah,
years.
which is
so billion,
an insane amount of money now when you've made your name. So potentially FIFA themselves have overplayed their hand a little bit, and the EA have called their bluff. So I think that hopefully it does feed its way back into the player base. John, we see a better game if we've got 250 million a year. You will see esports get better. I think we've talked about it. What would make esports better? I think the game this year has been hampered by quite dire gameplay. Maybe no dire gameplay, but the way guys are playing, it seems to be a bit boring.
There's also a
4v
dire way of qualifying, and there's a very much
Yeah.
dire way of actually getting paid in this game.
Yeah,
you're
so I think we'd all love to see 4v4 or even 11v11. Those games will be absolutely great to watch because there'll be so much imagination that can be in different game styles will be played as well. So I think that'll be an interesting side of it there. I just think, as I say, from my point of view, I'd like to see the women's game be represented more. It's grown part of football, and I think there's an easy way for EA to bring them in is to give the female players the same sort of physicality and speed, etc., as the men, and I think we'd be happy to use those players, and I think we'll get to know those players better as well.
I guess why not, right? Volta might much more be integrated into a game now as well. I like that style. We can definitely do more about it. And when I look at all the pictures, so they posted a sort of overview, which says a lot of times the FC words, right? And how you would do it in those countries. There's a lot of females being represented there, female teams. I think I see City female. I see Paris Saint-Germain being there. So there's a good possibility that's already on the table. And I'm glad for it.
Do you think you might see leagues drop out?
No, I
I
see teams
got-
coming back, honestly. I can see Juventus, for example, coming back. Now there's more money to
Yeah,
spend.
but you're talking one of the big five, aren't you? I mean, I'm wondering if the likes of, the Australian League, do they stay in the game? Because those players never get used. Other than bronze pack method or even just for bronze SBCs. How many times has an Australian player figured in someone's team in FIFA?
Well, it says 30 leagues, so it almost
Yeah.
has to be.
So
30
what do
is a
you do
lot,
then?
right?
Do you think they'll play with the chemistry then, so that these guys become more viable to use? Because otherwise these players in the game, and no disrespect to people who follow them, because ultimately in the day I follow a team in a small league as well, that they're not really relevant in this game.
But the thing is, I think they are not relevant because of the situation that they are in. But let's assume that if you guys remember in FIFA, back in FIFA 18, we had for the Korean league the player of the year, and the card was absolutely cracked. Same for Australian league. So if they can play with stuff like this, those cards will be
Yeah.
relevant again.
Yeah, which is important, isn't it? Because actually, if we're going to go into team this season as well, as the boosts that some of these players have got are no realistic to real life football, are they? You know,
True.
the gold cards are speed is this, and then they get a torch card, the speed goes absolutely flying high. So it's not impossible for actually, do you know what, to make these players more viable in game because there is that non-realistic element of the game in tots.
No, that's
And this is a different part. This is the part that I hope we manage to talk by the end of this show about.
Yeah.
there like Bundesliga, La Liga, but also UEFA and CONMEBOL have already been confirmed by themselves, by the partners themselves. So, honestly, I mean, it takes some time to get used to, but in the end, the name doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
We want a good
No.
game, and I think this might open up possibilities. But then again, I'm a very positive fellow, so hey, let's see what
You
happens, right?
We're not.
No,
You guys,
I'm not coming. Sorry if I come across negative. I think it's a good thing. I think having 250 million in your pot to put towards game development is going to be great. And the way we upgrade stuff that they maybe didn't get a chance to upgrade because they've had to pay FIFA this money. I think the good thing as well as we've talked about is there's a couple of games coming around the corner, which I think that'll push EA to be better as well.
Yes.
And hopefully these games will push EA to raise the bar.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the goal.
exactly. Anything to add about EA Sports FC, guys?
No,
I think we'll still call it foot. I think
absolutely.
I mean,
we know it for we'll still call it foot. Are you playing ultimate? They'll have to have some. I mean, I don't see why they can't still call it ultimate team.
they
They will
will,
call
right?
it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're gonna change it to something called My Team.
No, it can't because my team is eFootball license. Can't.
True.
My club,
Yeah.
it's called, so my team and my club. That would be
Mhm.
really weird. So I don't see that happening. It's going to be Football Club Ultimate Team.
Well,
Club, but that's club in review sounds weird, so we're going to probably not
Yeah.
change it. But if you're listening to the show, you have any thoughts about it, let us know. We might consider doing it. And we still have more than a year to go anyway. So this ends in July, though, so we have to say that. July 23? July 2023,
23.
which means probably during the season, in the summer, we'll get an I don't know,
Massive
game change.
promos.
I don't know how that goes. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get
worth
something big.
considering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to save a date, but I'm expecting that to be the case, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's also going to be the case is, of course, changes. Since we're now changing everything, EA is changing everything, we thought, hey, let's have a look at how the podcast is doing. Consider all the feedback you've sent, and our dear friends at Spotify have actually granted us something I've been chasing for a whole long time now, and we have granted access. We are now available as video as well when you open your Spotify app. So you click on the podcast, and you can actually see our video recordings from what we put out. So not only can you go to YouTube and check it out, but you can also just click on your Spotify app. If it's on desktop, mobile, doesn't even matter. If you open Spotify, you click on the podcast, you can see us in the actual app as well. So that's really cool. So those changes considering, we thought, okay, after a hefty brainstorm session with Chris back in Scotland 2 weeks ago, after some thoroughly thought out data analytics from everything we see at the podcast, and of course your feedback, we are implementing some changes over the coming period, starting today, because that's also how we go at it. Let me summarize the changes. I think that's all quality of life improvements, all good improvements. So let's go. Also, we are testing, so every bit of feedback, just shoot it at us. You know our socials at Food and Review everywhere, even on TikTok starting today. So go check that out. Give us your feedback, and we always take this into consideration because we have as well for this situation. Let's talk about schedule first. Good news. We are still staying 3 days a week. No worries there. I saw some people sending us messages and asking me how that's going to change, but no worries. We do not intend to change that. What we are doing, and we are doing this every single summer in all the 4 years we've been active, is we are, of course, going to tune it a little bit down once the holiday period starts. Not Don't know how much, etc. We'll see then. But at least in May and June, no changes at that period. And of course, when the new game arrives, we'll always be back at the full schedule. But for now, nothing changes at the actual schedule. Change number 1, though. Like I said, we've been granted access from Spotify to release our video version directly on the Spotify apps. It was a test in the US and UK. We are officially not registered there, so we had to wait, but we got the green light. So check out the podcast there and you'll get a visual feed. So change number 1, the public feed we produce 3 times a week now has video. Then change number 2, this public feed, the video and of course audio version, will go out on YouTube as well. By the way, don't worry, if you're listening on any other platform than Spotify, you'll just hear the audio as you normally would have. Nothing changes then. It's just an extra if you're a Spotify user. So this public feed will go out on YouTube and Spotify and all other platforms like TikToks and stuff a little bit later. Because making video, making it sound good, which sounds weird for video, but it's actually a very big part of making video content, is actually to make it sound good, is time consuming. We record these shows in the evening in Europe, which means if we would then take all the time we need, we just wouldn't be able to sleep as well. And that would lead to less quality too. So that's something we are not going to do. So we are pushing the public feed back a little bit. Expect it to be 12 to 16 hours later than normal times. So when we would publish on Monday evening, then, let me say 9 UK, usually that will be the next morning, early afternoon at the latest. We'll find a steady time for that. And to find that, we'll need to get our workflows optimized for the video content, because we have seen there's a lot of demand for watching the video versions. So still 3 times a week. If you're listening on any of the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, you name it, you get it a little bit later than normally, but we'll find a steady schedule on that. And please let us know what works for you, because we might take that into consideration. If you are a Patreon, and here it comes, of course, the audio feed, the official podcast we are now recording as well, will just be pushed as normal. So Patreons get the podcast on that same evening we recorded the podcast. And of course, as always, if we record podcast early, you get it right away. No video feed on that. No, it is just our regular mix. Mixed together, edited, just normal. But audio editing, we are much faster in after 4 years of audio editing than also combining that with video editing. So the audio feed is going to be edited in the evening, post-production, and they're going to be published for Patreons on their exclusive Patreon feed, which you can get to patreon.com/food review if you support us. And you'll get the show that same evening as usual. If you wait a little longer, you're in Europe, you take a nap, you wake up to a video podcast. And if you're in the US, you probably wake up to a video podcast anyways now. So I think that's very cool. And of course, if you're Patreon, you can still listen in live and ask us questions as we are recording the show as we do now. Change number 3, we'll add some more structure to the show. I wouldn't say we freestyle the shows, but we do have a sort of flexibility on who does which show and what does that show contain. We're going to bring that a little bit easier and a little bit more structured, so you, our listeners and viewers now then, can also take that into account. So Friday shows are going to be the content shows. They will, if possible, of course, contain or have hosted by Ingvi, amongst others, because he's Mr. FIFA database. He knows everything about every single card in the game, even if the game's being name changed, and he'll be able to tell you all about that. So Friday, promo shows. What we also do on Friday, we'll teach you what we're going to do in that weekend and which players we'll be testing. And if you have any players to be tested, let us know. We'll take those into account, because on Monday, we'll review our weekend leagues, our performances, our esports work, which we did at Food Coaching when the season starts again, and of course, the players like we did the last Monday. Last but not least, the Wednesday show will contain, so the middle of the week show, will still be our little playground. We'll get guests on. We'll do shows like tonight. We'll discuss certain topics. Um, but we have to stay a little bit flexible. So the Wednesday is your surprise show. You could say. Then there's change number 4, but we're not going to tell you about that. You'll see in change number 4 as a surprise. Chris is already smiling when we actually launch change number 4. So video podcast, check it out on Spotify and everything else. Let us know if you have any feedback considering the timings of the releases or anything like that. Let us know. But I think we made some good steps, and I actually forgetting something. I am really proud of myself, honestly. Something I've been working on a long time now, and I think we've got this figured out. And because we're now on a visual format, we are able to provide full transcripts of every single podcast episode we do. So I'm looking at finding a system we can actually let you download it. For now, send us a message somewhere. We'll get you the file sent on email. You can read back everything we said in the podcast. And the visual show will contain, although probably not on the maximum high editing mode from day one, but it will contain subtitles in English, so you can actually understand my Dutch accent a little bit better as well. That's all I've got. I've been speaking about this way too long, but what do you guys think? Chris, you go ahead first.
Well, I mean, when I say it was a fairly open and frank meeting we had, wasn't it? Between us all when we discussed these, and there was a lot of good ideas floating. I think we've boiled it down to a really great schedule. I think it's going to pay dividends, and all I'd say is this is a pod for the community, built by the community. So if MD has anything that they want to add or want us to change, we're open to any idea, and we would thoroughly discuss it with them. And as I say, we welcome all feedback.
Yeah, talking about feedback, I do have to thank, of course, all our Patreon supporters. And I have to name, of course, Amar, who's on the show, which is sort of weird, but hey, Amar, Reese, Daniel, and of course, Archom, for supporting us at the Skybox tier. That's the highest tier you can support us with. Your contributions make it possible, all of your contributions for every single Patreon, to actually invest in software and hardware and stuff to make this go in. And it also makes you, the listeners that don't support us financially, by giving us those 5-star reviews you gave on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Keep listening to us. Made possible for us to make these discussions open and get these functionalities added to us. So thank you very much for this. And with your help, with your dedication, and hopefully as well with a little bit of financial support, we'll be able to take next steps, the bigger steps as well. And I'm very proud that we can make this possible. And, well, when you're listening to this podcast, the first thing you'll probably be saying is, hey, this is released late, but this is why it's going to be a little bit later. Which, with no financial support, I might be able to hire someone and we can still do it the same night. But, hey, I need some sleep somewhere. So. Amar, anything to add about that?
Change is always good. I love those changes. I think food coaching is taking a big leap to the next generation of doing this.
Yeah, and therefore also with the podcast, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
So
it's one big part of everything.
That's true. That's true. But if you're not into the community, it might be hard to see how that actually works. And for if you're listening to this and you're not sure how this actually works, Food and Review, it's its own entity. We make content. The whole team make content. We are a community-driven show, and that's it. What does food coaching offer them? How does that get involved? We basically financially back it. That's the most of it. So we make sure it actually gets pushed. And if you want to get better at coaching, or better at FIFA, I should say, or EA Sports FC on a later notice, then check out foodcoaching.com and take that with you. It's back to content though, because Premier League is in full swing, and that means that we have upgrades SBCs, and we got a guaranteed upgrade SBC. Amar, what about this, man?
Well, the guaranteed Premier League SBC, or as known as the Rodri player pick. Well, To be honest with you, depends on what I see here. This was a really good way, get really good priced, and I think it's an 86 team with one team of the season player. So I think this is, if you already have the fathers or or the coins, you gotta do that. This one is really good, and there might be a chance that you'll be able to pick one of the big three: Mane, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, and my man Mo Salah.
I seriously am in doubt these guys are actually in these packs. But
We'll see.
you done it already?
No, not yet.
I did it. I got
It's
Trent Alexander-Arnold, which I'm really happy with. Except I did pack him this morning in another upgrade SBC, so there's still that.
you still are on the red list, John.
And let's talk about that in a moment. But Chris, what about you, mate?
I have got quite a few already of these players in there. I had a quick look, and as Amar said, I think there's only 3 players in there that would make you lose coins. But unfortunately, I've already had some good luck, and I've got quite a few of the Premier League tots in my team, so I'll probably give it a miss. But I think it's worth doing. It's not a huge sum of coins, to be honest with you. And I noticed that the best solution on Footbin includes Sinestra. So people are putting that into an SBC, but I think you thought it was a great card, John, didn't you?
I still think he is, but I have to be honest. I took one of my duplicate Sinisteras and tossed it in as well.
That no sacrilege when you do that.
Apparently, if it does, then I know. Well, let's continue. Could be. I still have him in my team, though. I still have one extra in my team, so don't worry about that. But which one did you get actually? Again?
I
From the
have.
guarantees?
So I've currently in my team I have Jota, who's probably one of the best strikers in game. Can't believe how cheap his price is. He is an amazing player. Came up against him in the weekend league. I have Son, Sané, Alisson, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander. I think are the ones off the top of my head. That's what's got currently in my squad, and most of them are untradeable.
So horrible. So horrible. I feel so bad for you, though.
Yeah, me too.
Just missing Salah, who I'd love to get in the squad. He'd replace prime icon moments best.
Yeah.
Not in there.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Horrible team, horrible experience.
Yeah. So, I think this was my I go all out week with upgrades, right? I done so many upgrades. My club is as dry as the Sahara now. Alma could know how dry that is, right?
Yeah.
But it is insane. My team was a little bit behind the curve. Of course, last week I packed Zaha. I packed this week Bernardo Silva, multiple team, but he's actually my team. I really like that card, honestly. I actually use Rodri now. I was like, yeah, you know what? His stats do look good as a CDM, so let's try it. Honestly, I'm not disappointed. I packed Jota, so that's cool. Of course, Alexander-Arnold multiple times, Van Dijk, Cancelo, Alisson. So far so good, and none of the big three, so to speak. But with all the amount of silly duplicates I got from all these upgrade packs, I was able to do Vieira for completely free from scratch this afternoon. And although my eyes still bleed of doing 12 SBCs, I don't even know how much. The most SBCs I ever did on one day. And didn't get anything out of those packs, honestly. But these are tradables, of course. Yeah, my team has got a pretty good boost now. And it's basically, except Marquinhos and Vieira, full Premier League now.
Red list.
And we're not done yet, right? We still have rewards tomorrow. But so far, so good. Amar, your team, has it got many improvements of it?
No, I'm keeping all my packs. I will be opening that in the Liga Tots. I will destroy all of you with all the players that I'm getting, guys.
Good
You
luck,
be.
mate.
You won't compete with me.
The problem is, right, you'll be first playing these guys with your current team. I think that's the issue with this this format currently.
It's
Like
true.
last week, I was outgunned in most matches. This week, I'm definitely not outgunned anymore. But everyone has great players, right? And I think one of the biggest thing is if you saved up until now, I guess that's fine. But can you actually perform anymore? Like if you need 14 wins for Weekend League, you do want to have a certain backing by your team, right? And if your team is lacking behind because everyone else got the upgrades this week or in last week, can you actually still compete? That's why I
Well,
think waiting out. I told this with Aaron last week, right? Holding
mm,
off the Serie A league. I get it can be cool, but if your team wasn't on to par before team of the season, you'll have a couple of hell weeks to go through first, right?
well, true, but the way that I look at it is that my team was already way ahead of its curve, because I can say I'm definitely having top player in every position in La Liga. So I'm hoping that I won't be having any of an actual problem when it comes to power curve.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm rich. I have a lot of coins. If that really happens, I'm not gonna wait to actually pack anyone. I'm gonna buy the players that I'm coveting, as they say. And with the price range that we're seeing for the Prim TOTS players, then I shouldn't have any problem.
That's fair. That's fair.
I
I don't
think
have coins, right? I got 150 coins. I had 150 coins last week and the weeks before as well. So, but still, it can net you Bruno Fernandes. So
Exactly. That's exactly my point. This year is weird.
yeah, I was going to say actually, you're saving for. Is it Ligue 1? Is that right? You're saving for? Is that?
La Liga.
Oh, La Liga. Sorry, apologies, because I was just looking at that Chouameni column card. That's his fourth team of the week because team of the week is out. But that's going to be some card. So La Liga, who are you hoping to pack? Benzema, best striker, best number 9 in the world at the moment, I think, isn't he?
Absolutely. And my aim will be Vinicius.
Yeah,
I'll have to have this card.
and I think Rodrigo will probably get in with the way he's playing.
True.
No, it's going to be some team that it's going to be interesting. It's going to be one as well. I think that people probably won't necessarily plumb for. I think the cost is going to be absolutely amazing on those cards as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the good thing is that we always say that the Prem is the hardest thing that you can get, and with the prices that we see this year for the Prem, that La Liga would be lower than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to have
that's
some
true, though.
squad for less than 1 million coins, I would imagine, in that team.
Exactly. That's exactly my expectation for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm curious this weekend league though. Now everyone has tag team, right? We expected sweat, but now I'm expecting fiery heat. That makes sense. It's not getting much easier, I suppose.
One thing also we have to put in consideration, guys, is that the amount of time that the weekend league right now is extended to, that give you a very good space to actually pack up good players from the TOTS team and then play with them in the weekend league. So you have
Yes.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even Tuesday. Not
You should
and
have
from
Tuesday, yeah.
yeah, and maybe Wednesday extremely early. So by that time, your team will definitely be stacked. So you shouldn't be way behind in the power curve.
Yep.
If you're playing weekend league and you already are sort of
True. Yeah.
but if you're still holding off and your team isn't on par, I think you might be in trouble until you are. But hey, it is how it is. Because I do think grinding rivals might be pretty hard,
Yes.
right?
True. Absolutely.
So, guys, I want to get your feelings out of Team of the Season currently, because there is a whole lot of negativity coming around as well about Team of the Season. But before we go there, I have 2 questions sent in. And the first one I'm going to ask Chris, and the second one I'm going to ask Amar. The first one is from our dear friend Stickstomper. He says, is there such a thing, in your opinion, Chris, as momentum in the game? I just feel when I play with momentum or in flow, the animations of my team line up and chances present themselves. Passes seem to find their mark more often, the shots tend to go in, and is this something you have noticed? And don't say only when I throw beer at my fellow coaches.
What I would say is, I think, and I know that's maybe, and I'm not going to spoil it, it's something that Aaron's considering. Um, there is a feeling, I probably think, that the game sometimes changes for you, but I think probably it's yourself. I think the fact is that you see the chance, and you're more in the flow. From that point of view, then you can see the pass, the player make the movement that split second quicker. You may also be pushing the buttons just at the right time and not releasing them a little bit early or feel under pressure. So I think it's probably, I would say, 90% down to you, and I would say 10% down to the game.
I agree.
Oh, that's a good one. I totally agree as well. I don't think there's anything in the game itself. I've said that before, of course, so my opinion was already known. But I think if you are in the flow state, just Google on flow state, right? Flow mental state. In anything in FIFA or anything else in life, you can feel unstoppable and everything will click, right? And I don't think there's necessarily something in game that will influence that. So
I think it's obvious as well as if you look at it. A case in point is Real Madrid versus Man City. 90th minute, Man City are in a total flow state. 91st minute, Real Madrid in the flow state, and in extra time there is only one winner. It's not because all of a sudden that Man City become bad players. It's just their mindset was totally changed. They were going to Paris at that point, and Real Madrid are on a high, and they're in that flow state, and that's where the penalty comes from
a football analyst perspective, I've got another opinion on that one though. Because if you are holding on to a lead and you're about to play out the match and you play against a team that has been scoring last minute goals for the last, 20 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't sub out Kevin De Bruyne and you do not keep attacking and have a little bit of a chance of a counter. But hey, there's something to be said there as well.
That's a longer show, John, discussing that game.
So we can do those maybe on a separate point. Other question for Amr, of course. Amr, Hawking says, question for the poll. Hey, that's what we're doing. How long would you recommend trying out tactics for? I've been using a 4-4-2 for quite some time and get frustrated. So in the last week, I have tried 4-2-2 and now which is 4-3-3-4 that you can find on our YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to have a look at that. And my results now have become inconsistent as I keep changing the formation. Also, follow-up question, name that as well. What is the most balanced formation to use? So, how many matches do you play with a formation until you think you settled with it, or do you change it? And what's the most balanced formation? Omar?
Well, that's definitely a tricky question because it varies from one person to another. For me, what I do is, let's say that I'm getting a new formation that is attracting my attention. So I try to play with it for a month. Maybe a little bit less than that if I'm feeling a little bit uncomfy using it, but usually a month, because that would give me a time to give a proper perspective, whether it's actually good, bad, or just simply not for me, because every single one of us have his own style of play. I can play the 3-5-2 properly. Maybe John doesn't feel that it's his style of play. So it depends on you as a player. That's pretty much it. I give it a try for a month and then see if it's really good or bad. I agree that sometimes when you change your formation and tactics a lot, it threw off your game. But you always have to have this one formation that you can always get back to, and because this is the basic one that you always have success with, then you can use. For me, that's the 4-2-3-1. I get back to this when I feel stuck. I cannot win. I cannot do or play proper FIFA. Then I go back to 4-2-3-1 and then start from the beginning again.
Good answer. Anything to add on the formations part? How many games you played, Chris?
For me, I'm a 4-1-2-1-2 guy, and what would suggest is you know, and for anybody out there who's not been on our YouTube channel, there is that great 4-3-3-4-1 videos, because John actually puts examples on there of how the game should be played, so that will really help you. But again, it's much like players. Some people, I mean, for me, I love Prime Icon Moment Socrates. I know what he does. I know what he can do, and I also know what he can't do as well. So again, what Amar says, you need to find something that suits your style. Are you a player who likes to cross the ball? Are you a player who likes to play quick passes? I wouldn't change too much too soon, but certainly again, as I say, check out the 4-3-3-4 and just stick with it, and eventually it'll come, and you'll get in that flow state. You'll know where players are. I think that's also a big thing of sticking with formation, because you actually sometimes don't have to think. You know that player's in that position when the ball's in a certain spot, and that helps a lot as well.
Yeah, cool answer. I think it's very important to stick with something. For example, a whole Wicked League. Then you know if it's for you or not. If you do it for Wicked League, though, your mind might influence your results and the way you feel about it for this information. And especially with the 4-2-3, for example, you definitely need to get some games in to have a feel for it. So I would not practice it in Wicked League. I think that's one thing I'd always stay away from. And also the most stable formation, I think, Amar, 4-3-1, period, right?
Yes.
There's no better stable formation than that. It does nothing particularly well. It does nothing particularly bad. It's great at defending. It's solid at attacking. But it's so easy to keep your shape that you won't be able to lose very hard with it no matter what happens if you just play normally, I guess.
Yep. I think it's kind of a get back to your roots.
Yeah.
Exactly. Talk about getting back to your roots this Friday. It's going to be Bundesliga Team of the Season with none other than Daniel, Tommy, and of course, Ingvi. So go check that out. And don't forget about our changes. Leave us your feedback. And talk about feedback. It has been a pleasure having you on over tonight. Same with Chris, of course. It is good to see you again. But it was much better to see in person, honestly. And we'll see you this Friday. Keep hitting that like, subscribe, share, and, well, sub button, I guess, right? So let us know how you find the changes. See you this Friday. But now it is time for us to actually just drop it.